I think it is. I think there's a real danger that as Israel goes in, as the Palestinians make sure that they get video of damage done, that it really could impact support here.
What's it called? It's called like the CNN strategy. Dan, this is the familiar cycle. Islamic terrorists attack Israel, Israel retaliates, and the world criticizes Israel. Happens every freaking time. But man, I'll tell you, I think this is different. Something changed on October 7th. I think the world generally is going to stand with Israel.
Even if there are
yes,
tens of thousands killed in Gaza?
Something changed that day.
Dan, we're already hearing the word de-escalate. We're actually hearing that word. During the Obama administration in the 2014 war, the word was restraint, right? Obama said the same thing. Israel has a right to defend itself, but it has to restrain itself. And the Israelis are going, what does that mean, right? And then remember, Iron Dome, people were blaming the Israelis and the Americans for Iron Dome because it created a disproportionate death. It was protecting, as I said before, about Hamas rockets were usually inept. They never hit anything. So the disproportionate loss, Bernie Sanders jumped all over that. So
Well, this is going to be disproportionate, right? I mean,
right.
It's a fact that there will be more people who die in Gaza than Israelis who died on the 7th. A lot more.
And again, that's a key part of Hamas's strategy.
The vast majority of them will be civilians.
Yes.
That is absolutely part of Hamas's strategy. That's why, again, they're a terrorist organization, because they don't care about any innocent civilians. They deliberately put their mobile launchers in residential areas. And they know that Israel's response will be brutal. There have been 5 rounds of violence between Hamas and Israel since 2007, since Hamas took over the Gaza Strip. And every single time they know Israel's response, and they know how the world will respond. Yeah. I was, when I was
Is it going to be different this time? I guess that's my question.
Joe thinks so. I'm intrigued by that.
I agree. I think a couple things will be different. First of all, the U.S. right now is trying to push for a humanitarian corridor. I never saw that before. They're trying to lead the charge between Israel and Egypt to establish a humanitarian corridor to get civilians out. And they're pushing very hard on this.
But Hagar, will they go?
Will the civilians go?
Will they go?
I think the civilians will take advantage.
Dan, I could be wrong on this. Aren't more hostage being held, American hostages being held since the Iran hostage? Way back when. I mean, this is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
What's going to happen with those American hostages? I think we have no idea what this, how
Well, and you mentioned Egypt, which I think brings up a really important issue that no one wants to talk about, which is always about, well, Israel has put them in this open-air prison. There's no way out. Wait, what do you mean there's no way out? There's a border with Egypt.
And they're blockade there too.
Yes.
Because they're scared of Hamas too.
Yes, yes. They don't want a lot of these people. So when you talk about the civilians and what the options are for the civilians, it's always about, oh, it's Israel's fault that the civilians have no option. Egypt could open the border at any time and allow all the civilians out. You know, look, I think that regardless of what they figure out in terms of trying to do some sort of humanitarian effort, it's going to be super, super ugly in Gaza. And I do think, I fear that, put aside the administration, I think you're going to see the country. Look, we've seen it in Ukraine, right? Initially, it was everyone support. Now as time goes on and the money goes in, more and more people now saying, well, you know, at what point do we stop funding this?
But this is our closest ally ever. There's a different kind of relationship with Israel that this country has.
Yes, that's true. I agree. That's why the carriers were sent out into the Mediterranean to remind everyone, not just that we stand with Israel, but don't try any funny business, because the U.S. is here and we have a defense pact. I think that, and listen, I think that attitudes, of course, they will shift. When I worked at the White House and you had violence between the two sides, a lot of the conversations with Israel to tell them to restrain were private. They weren't very public. It usually was, in fact, the White House would be silent to the frustration of many people on the left. And that's okay, but that's typical. Israel is our ally. Right now, they've suffered this massive terrorist attack. That's why the U.S. is supporting this humanitarian corridor, because they don't want to be put in a position where they're saying, yeah, by all means, kill all these civilians.
But here's the thing. How is Israel even going to do this, right? I mean, they're going to be trying to find, I heard someone said to me, well, I hope that they do it with great precision. And it's like, what does that mean? Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.